Hello, everyone. Welcome to the class. This time, we're going to talk about the biological basis of human behavior. We're going to discuss the nervous system, the hormone system, and behavior genetics. Before we jump into the content materials of this part, let's take a big picture. Let's take a broad view of human behavior, how we understand human behavior. Psychology has three main functions or has three main purposes. The first purpose of psychology is to describe behavior. And then the second purpose of psychology is to explain behavior. For example, some people are more likely to be nervous. Some people are more likely to be sad, to be disheartened by setbacks and failures. But some people are more resilient, are more capable of coping with difficult situations and remain high-spirited. Why is there such individual differences? How can we describe the various individual differences, how people differ from each other? This is a description, and then explaining the reason why people differ in resilience, in depression, in anxiety. These are main functions of psychology. And the third function or purpose of psychology is to improve behavior. This is the ultimate goal of psychology. We try to describe how people differ from each other. We try to explain why, what are the reasons that people differ from each other. And then the ultimate goal of psychological science is to improve those behavior that are malfunctional, dysfunctional, or not optimal. We try to make people better. We try to make people, we try to help people to become happier and more productive. In order to describe behavior, explain behavior, and improve behavior, psychology has tried very hard to understand the behavior in a comprehensive way. Nowadays, most psychologists subscribe to the so-called biopsychosocial model of human functioning. This is a broad way of understanding human behavior. In this model, while we believe that human behaviors, human functioning, human emotions, human thinking, human actions are influenced or even determined by three layers of influences. From large to small society, social influence is very strong on individual behavior. And then at the next level, lower level is individual processes or psychological processes. At the individual level, while human behavior are influenced by psychological processes, psychological functioning, and then at the even smaller level, even lower level, we have the biological influences. These are the three different levels of analysis of human functioning, of human behavior. Nowadays, with the coronavirus pandemic, still not in total control, we are most prominently become aware of social influence. Influence of the social environment is very powerful nowadays in people's behaviors and psychological functioning. There are a lot of restraints or constraints in the society. There's a social distancing policies. Many workplaces are shut down. Many businesses are shut down. So many people have lost their job or lost work or have to reduce the amount of the work they do as compared with in ordinary days. And this creates financial difficulties. Some people are kind of really in a more difficult situation financially because of what's going on in the society, in the workplace, job policies, and all the kind of restrictions placed by the health authorities to prevent the spread of the virus, coronavirus. Society has a strong influence on human behavior, not only at the society level, but at the interpersonal level. The social level of influence has two components, if you will. Number one, the society as a group, the society as an environment influences how people behave, how people function. Another level of a social influence is interpersonal relations. The virus also affects interpersonal relations. There's more domestic conflict because people are staying home much more than they usually do. So people come into closer contact with each other in the family. There's more opportunities for conflict, for differences, and there is even a reported increase in domestic violence. And in general terms, interpersonal relations have a big influence on how people feel, on how people behave. This is another level of social influence. And then if we move down to the psychological level, which is individual level of influences, we find that people are influenced or even determined by their psychological functions. This includes their memory systems, what kind of information they remember. Many psychological dysfunctions are influenced by the memory system. For example, in post-traumatic stress disorders, individuals have suffered psychological damage from trauma, for example, from earlier abuse experiences, physical attack, rape victims, and witnessing horrible atrocities. For example, in soldiers, some soldiers are traumatized by their combat experiences. In post-traumatic stress disorders, memory processes plays a big role. Some PTSD patients, they cannot help remembering vividly the experience that they had during the trauma. They have a flashback memories. It's like they play the scene, the feelings of the traumatic experience again and again, like playing a videotape in their head, in their mental state, mental spaces. So this would be a memory system influencing people's functions. Of course, memory failure and memory loss can be a very significant factor in influencing people's behavior. In older people, older adults, some of them suffer from what we call dementia. For example, Alzheimer's diseases. This kind of diseases damage people's cognitive function, including memory. Alzheimer's disease could start with a memory dysfunction, not remembering things, misplacing objects, can't find where you put your pen, you can't remember where you put your medication, forgetting, and then it gets worse and worse. You forget people's identities, you don't recognize your friends. So psychological functions have a profound influence on individual functioning. And also at the individual level, emotional stability or people's emotions influence their functions. Some people are more emotionally stable. Some people are more volatile. They're more likely to experience strong emotions, mood swings, emotional changes. These are the differences at the individual level or psychological level. And we try to describe, psychology try to describe the individual differences at the psychological level and the social level. And also, if we move to the lower level, we have the biological level of understanding human behavior and animal behavior. This is the focus of the current chapter. At the biological level, we can subdivide the biological sphere into different layers. I'm going to start with the lowest layer or the smallest unit of analysis. At the smallest level, we talk about cells. We are particularly interested in kind of cells called nerve cells or neurons. Neurons really make up the nervous system. The human nervous system, the animal nervous system consists of neurons. We're going to talk about the structure of neurons, the different parts of neurons, how neurons, this kind of cells, differ from other cells. What kind of structural differences or functional differences make neurons capable of information processing? And then cells make up organs. Of course, the cells make up tissues, and then tissues make up organs. In this part of psychology, biological basis human behavior, we are really interested in the organ of brain. The brain is a very important organ in the human body. Some people say the human brain is the most complex object in the whole universe. It's very complex. It consists of billions of nerve cells or neurons. The brain is part of the nervous system. The nervous system is the human information processing system. The brain, the spinal cord, and some other nervous components make up the human nervous system. We're going to talk about the different branches of the nervous system. Broadly speaking, you probably have heard about the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. And then at the biological level, another source of influence on human behavior are the hormones. Hormones work slower than neurons. Neurons rely on electric signals and chemical signals, which are called neurotransmitters, to communicate with each other. But hormones are circulated in the blood. They are in the bloodstream, so they work more slowly, but last longer. We're going to talk about some key hormones. For example, insulin is very important for biological functioning and also have a lot of behavior effects. Melatonin is a kind of a hormone, and then the thyroid gland secretes hormones. The adrenal gland, adrenaline, is very important in regulating arousal and the autonomic nervous system. Actually, the cells, neurons is not yet the smallest unit of analysis. We can go even to a lower level or smaller scale than the cells. We can go to the level of chromosomes, the genes, DNAs, to analyze, to have a better understanding of human behavior. Some genetic defects or some genetic variations influence human behavior profoundly. We're going to talk a little bit about behavior genetics, and we're going to talk about the different chromosomes that influence human behavior and human personality. Let's look at the human nervous system. This is the structure of human nervous system. The nervous system has two branches. One branch is a central nervous system. This is the word central is a very vivid description. If you look at the person, if you look at the right at the center of the person, right in the middle of his or her body, you have the head, which can contain the brain and the spinal cord make up the central nervous system. And then you have the peripheral nervous system, which also have two branches. One branch of the peripheral nervous system is called the somatic nervous system. The word soma is really important in psychology. Soma this word appears again and again in different parts of the human anatomy. So remember what is the meaning of this word. Soma means body. The somatic nervous system controls the different body parts, the muscles and skeletons, muscles and bones. So when you move your arms and legs, the somatic nervous system carry the command and control signals from your brain to different body parts. So you can move your body parts and coordinate the movement. Beside the somatic nervous system, you have the autonomic nervous system, which is also part of the peripheral nervous system. The autonomic nervous system goes to different internal organs. For example, the autonomic nervous system controls the heart, heartbeat, lung function, the blood vessels, the kidney, the stomach, digestion, etc. The autonomic nervous system is very important in human functioning because it regulates arousal. When you are in high arousal, the sympathetic nervous system is in control. When you are in low arousal, when your arousal level is lower, the parasympathetic system is more in control. The sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems are the two branches of the peripheral nervous system. The sympathetic and parasympathetic systems have opposite effects. One increases arousal. It's like in a car, you have a gas pedal, you hit on the gas, the car has more power, it goes faster. And the parasympathetic nervous system slows down the body's metabolism and lowers arousal. It's like a brake in the car. If you hit on the brake, the car gets slows down. These two branches have opposite effects on different organs. The sympathetic nervous system increases arousal, so it increases the heart rate. And it dilates the pupil. When you are in high arousal, your pupil gets larger. Arousal can be good and can be bad. When you are excited, when you are really excited, really happy, when you are thrilled, you are in high arousal. It feels good. But high arousal sometimes feels not so good. When you're scared, when you're panicking, you're also in a high arousal, and this doesn't feel good. Whether you feel good, positive or negative, whenever you are in high arousal, your heart rate increases. This is the impact of our sympathetic nervous system. And your pupil dilates, your stomach stop digestion. This is why when you are nervous, you don't want to eat anything. And then when you are in high arousal, your liver produces a lot of glucose and releases glucose into the bloodstream. So your blood has more sugar and you have more energy. And the sympathetic nervous system stimulates adrenal glands. The adrenal gland is a hormone gland. It produces hormones. It secretes epinephrine and norepinephrine. These hormones increase arousal, make you even more aroused. The adrenal gland sits on top of the kidney. You have two of them, one on the left, one on the right. These are the effects of the sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system slows down the body, calms you down, reduces the level of arousal. When your arousal level is low, the pupil contracts, the pupil shrinks, gets smaller, your heart rate slows down, like when you are meditating, when you take a deep breath, your body slows down, and it stimulates digestion. When you are calm, you have a better appetite. That's why when you are preparing to have dinner, for example, at a restaurant, you want to eat at a relaxing environment. You want the ambience to be relaxing and calm. You don't want to be nervous when you are eating. These are the key functions of the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. The impact of the sympathetic nervous system sometimes is described as fight or flight. The sympathetic nervous system is designed for coping with emergency situations. When something urgent, emergent happens, it demands your immediate attention and requires you to respond really fast. So you need the arousal. You need the energy to respond to emergency. You can either fight, or maybe if you can't fight it, the danger, the threat is too strong, too powerful, then you should run, you should flee. This is a key function of our sympathetic nervous system. So we have the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system making up the nervous system. And then all the nervous system consists of neurons. Neurons or nerve cells are located throughout the human nervous system. We need to understand the structure of the neurons, and we need to understand the process of the neurons, how they work, what do they do? And then we need to understand the function of the neurons. Now let's talk about neurons. Neurons are cells, they are nerve cells, so they have some common features as all cells. Think about cells. What are the common features of our cells in humans? The human life starts with a single cell. this is a fertilized human egg. The egg is merged with a sperm. The egg is produced by the woman, and the sperm is contributed by a man. And then this is initial state of human life at conception. And this is a single cell. And then this single fertilized egg starts to divide, to multiply. One cell becomes two cells becomes four cells. In a couple of days, it's going to have 8 cells. So, and then you see these are called stem cells. They are not differentiated. They are pretty much the same. They look the same. They have a similar structures. At this stage, just a few cells. The cells don't differentiate. You don't have brain cells. You don't have nerves. You don't have muscles, and you don't have any internal organs. The stem cells are all the same. So they have some common features of all cells. All cells have a nucleus. And in humans, some really primitive cells in single cell organisms, they don't even have a nucleus. But the human cell all have a nucleus. In the nucleus, you have a genetic materials, the DNA, the genes, the chromosomes. And then you have the cell body, the soma. Remember the word soma, it means body. In the cell body, you have a plasma, the liquid materials inside the cell body. Of course, you have a cell membrane. All cells have a membrane, like a casing. And then if you want to know more about cells, cells have a mitochondria. Mitochondria are located in the plasma, in the cell body, and they produce energy for the cell. These are the common features of all cells. And there are also some special features to neurons, to nerve cells. Your arms and legs, they don't think, but your brain thinks. What makes your brain think? It's because nerve cells have some special information processing features. Cells have nerves, neurons have axons. This is an axon. It's basically like a cable. In fact, it is a cable. It is an electric cable. Electricity or electric impulse pass through the cable. And the electric impulse pass from the base of the axon to the tip. There's a direction. It's a directed flow in the axon. Some axons have an insulation casing called myelin sheath. The casing is like a casing around the copper wire. It helps the information flow faster in the axon. It's insulation. So electric current can pass more quickly. The axon is an output system of the neuron. It sends information away to other neurons. You can imagine the axon is connected to a second neuron, to a different neuron. The neuron receives information with the dendrites. These little branches are called dendrites, and they receive information from other neurons. The dendrites are the input device to the neuron. A key feature of neurons is that they are connected to each other. It's like a cell phone. Suppose you are a rich person, you're very powerful, you have a cell phone. If you are the only person in the whole world that owns a cell phone, is it useful? No, it's useless. You don't have anybody to call. In order for, this is similar to a neuron. In order for a neuron to be useful, to function, it must connect with other neurons. So it must have an input and output device. The input device is like the speaker on your cell phone. You listen to your speaker and you receive information. The axon, an axon is the output device on the neuron. It's like the mouthpiece or the microphone in your cell phone. You speak into the microphone so you can talk to another person. The other person also has a cell phone. He or she can receive your information from the other end. So a neuron is an input and output system. It transmits information. In this picture, you have two neurons. Neuron A on the left is sending information to neuron B on the right. The axon sends information down to this direction and then stimulates the dendrite of the second neuron. And then the second neuron passes information to the third neuron. It's like a dominoes effect. Information gets passed on from one neuron to the other one. Between two neurons, between the axon of the sending neuron and the dendrite of the receiving neuron, there's a gap. So there is a gap, there's a space. The two neurons are not physically touching each other. The space is called a synapsis, or it's also called a synaptic connection. We're going to talk about the synapsis a little bit later. This is very important. Broadly speaking, there are two types of neurons or nerve cells: sensory nerve cells and motor nerve cells. The sensory neurons, they send information from different body parts to the brain. The brain gathers information from different body parts. The sensory neurons are responsible for carrying information from different body parts to the brain for the central processing and integration. The motor neurons go the other way. The motor neuron carry command and control messages from the brain to different body parts, so you can contract your muscle, move your arms and legs. The picture on the right depicts the same process. Sensory neuron has another name. It's more fancy name. It's called afferent neuron. The word starts with A-F-F-E-R-E-N-T. Afferent neuron are sensory neurons. They carry information from the different body parts to the central nervous system, eventually to the brain. And then the motor neuron is called the afferent neuron. The word starts with E-F-F-E-R-E-N-T, and they carry control and command information to different body parts. We call effectors, like the handy part to the central nervous system, eventually to the brain. And then the motor neuron is called the afferent neuron. The word starts with E-F-F-E-R-E-N-T, and they carry control and command information to different body parts. We call